Hey everybody, welcome to the Patty G Show. I'm your host, Patty G. We are back for a very exciting, very purple episode. This week we have Dr. Brian Sleeth from the Purple Cow on the show. We go through everything from an individual who was helping getting churches started to a homeless person himself with his family doing some couch surfing through a rough time to now developing this organization and really his life to helping others get out of these situations that he has experienced, building staff that can relate and do everything that they need to get those people from poverty to out of it, from solving everything with intentional solutions and being a fun little, hip little spot, such as the Purple Cow thrift stores around the Baton Rouge community. So before we get to that episode, I want to give a big, wonderful shout out and thank you to the folks that bring you this show each and every week. Valaya Real Estate, Lakeman's Health Center, Horizon Financial Group, Gage, and Currency Bank, the bank for businesses. Without further ado, y'all, let's talk with Dr. Brian. So you've been doing this for quite a while.
This job, 10 and a half years, nonprofit leadership since the late 90s in one form or another, and did broadcasting before that briefly.
Where were you broadcasting?
Let's see. Well, I graduated from LSU, and I did, while I was in college, I did a little bit of radio locally, and then I did 6 and 10 weather up in Alexandria. And then I went from there and did weather via satellite for a number of places back before the Fox station here had its own news department. They used to take down our weather capsules, and so I would be on mornings and afternoons here, and people thought I lived here, and then got out of it and briefly did it again in 2009 up in the Mississippi Delta just for kicks on the weekends. But been in church and nonprofit leadership ever since.
So just did it for kicks because you were bored on the weekends, I guess.
Yeah, well, it was fun. I just, it's very relaxing to do and non-stressful, and but I kind of fell totally backwards into it, unlike people who grow up and want to do it all their lives. I mean, I don't ever have those kind of patterns in my life. I usually fall backwards into stuff.
So how did we get into the fall backwardsing of the purple everywhere?
Oh, the purple everywhere. Well, I was dressing normally, somewhat normally, in my job from 2013 to about 2018. Then I started losing weight and decided to refresh the wardrobe, and I started thinking back to my 80s days and how I used to dress differently in New Wave and all that stuff. And I just, for whatever reason, just decided to start self-branding with purple because that's the organization's colors and Purple Cow and all that kind of stuff. And so started with my first pair of purple shoes, and it just kind of took off and spread from there. At first it was only purple shoes, and then it got to be purple pants, purple shirt, purple jackets, and it's sort of like whenever I wear something, it has to be purple of some shade, so.
I love it.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm embarrassed. I don't think I'll tell anybody how many pairs of purple shoes I have, but it's a sickness.
Well, the follow-up question to that is how many pairs of purple shoes do you have?
It's probably in the ballpark of 20 to 24.
20 to 24?
Yeah.
Oddly specific.
Yeah. Somewhere in the low 20s. I know I tell myself that it's not as bad as some people. I know there's some people who are like sneakerheads who have an insane amount of of shoes. I do have some. They vary from workout shoes to tennis shoes to dress shoes and ankle boots and things like that. So I'm more partial to Air Force Ones with the tennis shoe, and yeah.
Well, how did we get here? How did we get to the Purple Cow, the purple coloring, all of it? What was life like before?
Life before, I was up in my background leading up to this was starting churches. And so in that way I've led nonprofits and, and so we were up in Metro Detroit starting a brand new church, and we didn't have really much in the way of support. We were it was sort of a parachute drop, scratch start, and things were going fine. And then in fall of 2008, the recession kicks in, and so we're up there with the big three automakers who are all dealing with, bankruptcy. And so, as President Obama said, they're too big to fail. Nonetheless, people were losing their jobs, and then giving started going down. And so our outside financial support dried up, and we found ourselves homeless. And so we decided to come back down south where my family, I'm from here. So we came back to live with family. I went and we lived with, at the time, my 4 young kids and my wife. Went to go live at my sister-in-law's house, and it all worked out with my dad being diagnosed with colon cancer. So I was able to take care of him, and he eventually passed away. And then from that experience of losing everything in a background and ministry, and then doing a little bit of business, that sort of made me exactly the perfect person to get into the strange organization where I had to ask a couple of times, one more time, tell me what this is. So it's a Purple Cow thrift store, and it's connected to an outreach center that helps people who are homeless. And so it was just like, what, so I had to wrap my brain around it. And it's like two very different worlds that are connected. And so it took a little bit of business, a lot of ministry, and mixed it all together, and then my own personal experience, and there you go. So by going through the experience of living with family and being kind of the version of homeless that's known as couch surfing, so to speak, I had a number of things kind of burned into my DNA, things I became passionate about and from experience just was burdened about. So I brought all that into the job, and that's kind of what got me there. And the rest, we started with one store back in 2013. The original store just celebrated its 20th anniversary in March. And so took that concept, we perfected it and pressed it more toward being not your granddaddy's thrift store, but, kind of like if TJ Maxx or Marshall's had a thrift store, this is what it would look like. And then it was sort of baked in that there was an expectation of starting a second one. And so hence, we started the Perkins Acadian location, and that's going to have its 10-year anniversary this fall. And then in 2021, we started one in Denham Springs on South Range Road. So we have 3 thrift stores, 1 outreach center, and my office is pretty much my car. So I drive a Prius because it definitely helps in the mileage.
I love it, though. It's keeping things trim. It's keeping things light.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So I got to ask about the name. Where did Purple Cow come from? I mean, I love how it pops and it sticks out there and everything, but I mean,
yeah, it's kind
what's the root of it?
Yeah, well, purple is a very Baton Rouge color, LSU. It's a very Christian color. It just kind of resonates, and there's just something about it that makes you feel good. But the name Purple Cow comes from a business book that was written back in the early aughts, I believe, and it was written by a guy named Seth Godin, it was based off of an Irish limerick, and the gist of this business book is to be unique, to stand apart from the herd. And for some reason, women love the name Purple Cow. And if they know the name, then they go, oh, I love Purple Cow. And Christian Outreach Center predates it. And it was started out of St. Joseph Cathedral in downtown Baton Rouge in 1991. And so the two got put together. The thrift store got started with the idea of, what if we could generate the funding to cover, the overhead of what we do. And so that was the push behind it. And so, eventually, hopefully we'll start a 4th and a 5th store. And we're very excited about it. And but most people aren't aware of the connection between the two organizations. But it's all one organization. It's not, here's the Purple Cow and we just so happen to support Christian Outreach Center. It's the whole thing is Christian Outreach Center. So Purple Cow is the doing business as name.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's all a nonprofit. Yeah. And unlike, we're very local, local emphasis, local cause, local everything. So every dollar that's spent, every donation, it goes to support the community. And, it doesn't bankroll me. I'm not living in some mansion somewhere. I live a very middle-class lifestyle in Livingston Parish, in Watson. So
welcome to the brand new Falaya mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Falaya mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Falaya in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Falaya, it's real estate reimagined.
And I love the local ties that it has. The fact that it's based here and everything kind of goes back within the community.
Yeah.
What are some of the programs that y'all are doing to give back and outreach?
Well, we have the biggest program that we run is the stores themselves. So that ministers to and helps out the community because it's a place where an average person shops. It's one day we might start a thrift store that's more, in an impoverished area, but these are typically in more middle class areas where, as we all know from, inflation, how tight household budgets are. And so we want to provide great quality, gently used clothing to help out families. And, my own family, we're tight just like everybody else. And so, with the rising cost of groceries and insurance and everything else. So it's kind of a win-win-win because first of all, the stores in and of themselves provide a valuable service to the community. But then when you take the proceeds of that and you bring it over to the outreach center, then the two programs over there are essential services and sustainable services. So we started out with an initial focus back at the very beginning of the outreach center on downtown Baton Rouge, those experiencing homelessness before the downtown area had its renaissance. And where that's evolved over time is that we help those who experience homelessness all the way up to those who are at risk of homelessness. And the essential services, they help to stabilize people's the essential services help to stabilize people's circumstances, and the sustainable services are meant to increase employment and financial capacity. So an example of an essential service would be essential documents like birth certificates, IDs, and we just kind of take for granted what we carry in our wallets. But if we don't have a little card that says this is who I claim to be, and that's really the beginning of unlocking a lot of services if you're trying to rebuild your life. And it may just seem like this blow off thing that is so unimportant, but it really is very important. And birth certificates, things like that. But our biggest essential service is a weekly grocery distribution program called GAP. And it's meant to help food insecure households in the most vulnerable zip codes in the Baton Rouge area, which would be 70802, 05, 06, 07, 11, and 12. So we provide, and in fact, that's just where I came from today, where each Wednesday morning we go to the Baton Rouge Food Bank. We pick up fresh meat, fresh produce, essential food staples. We bring them back to the Outreach Center, which is in downtown East 14th and Main. We separate all the items out. We bag them up. Today was produce day, so it smells like a farmer's market in the Outreach Center. It's like heads of cabbage and potatoes and all this other stuff. And it's just, coming out of every corner of the outreach center. And so they're all bagged up, and then DoorDashers come. We get a special deal with DoorDash, and they deliver each of these bags of groceries straight to people's homes. And we do this for about 135 households. Our ultimate capacity with our current facilities is 200. And so I've written off for a couple of grants that hopefully will help us to hit that max sometime by the summer. And the idea is that we want to stabilize food insecure households so that they will come and take our job readiness and our financial education classes. And then we try to help them to get, instead of working 2 to 3 jobs as single parents and just being one perfect storm away from disaster, we try to help them to have to have better jobs that pay more, jobs that can turn into careers, and hopefully that can help them to ease the burden and increase their, not just their the kind of job they have and how much they make, but then being able to save more, to do more, and to hopefully break cycles of poverty and escape poverty. So, and a shocking statistic is that 55% of the population of East Baton Rouge Parish is either living in poverty or they are above the poverty line, but they don't make quite enough to make ends meet. So 55%. Those are recent numbers from United Way.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
That's very scary.
Yeah.
Saying that more people than not are borderline on that scale.
Yeah.
So how have the programs, how have they actually turned out to be from the folks going through them? Have y'all seen people not come back?
We have. It's very difficult, the amount of force. It's almost like, I liken it to like the amount of force and thrust a rocket has to have to escape, the pull of gravity. And so if you have grown up in poverty, your parents, your grandparents, and likely their parents going, dating back to the beginning of the welfare system, if you've grown up with generational poverty and everybody is in the same situation, and that is reality, to pull away from that and to go on your own to try and change things, that's very challenging. And so, it's a long, slow process. It's messy. It's overwhelming. Chaos is normal. There's a movie that came out called Everything Everywhere All at Once. And so that's kind of what it's like with just the level of stress. It's just constant problems, and everything's like, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's dialed up to 11 in just about every area of your life. Whereas for, people who are maybe like you and me, if things go wrong, then everything's going right in other areas. So we can go, well, this will work out, or I'll figure this out. But if you imagine every single aspect of your life being completely off the chart stress. And so we enter into that kind of mess, and we have no silver bullet. We have no quick, easy answers. We just enter into the messiness and the brokenness of people's lives and in communities. And we just try to walk alongside people as best as we can. And so we do see change. Sometimes it's 1 step forward, 3 steps backward, but we celebrate the wins, and we try to be there for people who struggle. And even just to get to our training, sometimes they'll struggle. Like, we'll have people show up in tears. And it's just a miracle that they even came to class that night. We have seen change, but change is never easy. It's always very difficult. And there are a lot of things, a lot of barriers to change, a lot of pull from many directions to not change.
Right.
So,
and there never is a silver bullet. There never is a quick fix for that particular situation. It is a constant working towards, because you're not just changing a circumstance, you're changing a total thought process.
Yeah.
And you're breaking a generational system that's been in place for so long. It's not a flip of a switch.
Yeah. And every once in a while, someone will come along who thinks they've cracked the code. It's so extensive and pervasive and complex. There's as much, and it's just kind of human nature. We would love to have a silver bullet, the perfect program, the perfect combination of this, but it will never be that easy, and it's always a moving target. And then
you can never build a perfect program. I mean, you always go back to the saying that my grandfather used to tell us was, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Right. And that's the biggest thing is we can't make people, well, it goes back to a nonprofit saying that I've picked up over the years. You can't want something more for someone than they want for themselves. And so what we try to do is we try to go, sort of, fishing for people who do want to change. And we use the grocery program as kind of the top of the funnel, if you will. And we've been working to tighten up our requirements that if you receive the weekly groceries, then you have to take the class, because we don't want to just, light our resources on fire, so to speak. And, people go, oh, free groceries. Sure. Yeah. I'll put up with a class, but it's like, do you really want to improve your situation? And so, we're going to see our numbers reduce, but hopefully the number of people who come and stay with it are that number is going to increase.
Right. So, and then you hope to see the people, as they make it through the class, drop off of the grocery because they've made a change.
Exactly. Yeah. And what's paramount to us is we have, besides the Bible, we have another Bible, which is this book called When Helping Hurts. And we don't want to ever do things that harm our clients by doing things for them that they can do for themselves. And so the idea with the groceries is that it's only meant to be for 6 months. So hopefully within 6 months, your situation has improved and you found a better job that makes more, or you're getting training. And you no longer need this. So that's what we shoot for.
So why the 6 months?
We had to pick some sort of a time frame. And we want to try to, we're always tweaking what we do. So we're always asking, is this too short? Is it long enough? And we almost kind of zero base all of our services on an annual basis and just kind of like take it from the top. Okay, is this helping? Do we need to rethink this? And so it's 6 months for now. But, if someone is in the middle of something, and they need to continue on for a longer period of time, then we'll do that. But if they've only been in it for a few months and they keep refusing to, do anything to improve their situation, then we'll say, well, like we've got to open up the spot for someone who really wants to change, so
I think that has to happen. You can't put people into programs and then them just start taking advantage of the programs because it's there.
Right.
If they then become reliant upon that, what reason is there for change? But if you give a clock and say, look, you've got this for 6 months.
Right.
And then it's done.
Thank you so very much to Currency Bank, a proud sponsor of the Patty G Show. If you are looking for a business bank that fosters on 3 core values, relationships, service, and technology, Currency Bank is the place for you. They pride themselves on convenient, accessible, and secure online banking resources where you can manage your account balances, initiate transfers, enroll with e-statements, and more via their online portal. Between the relationships, the service, and the technology, they are going to be that partner with your business every step of the way, regardless of what you need. Currency Bank is the bank for business owners.
And then the other thing that we do for folks who take the class that helps to stabilize them further is that we give them up to $600 for their utilities. So we provide that grocery assistance, we provide utility assistance, we even provide transportation for folks to get to and from the class, because that's another issue. So we try to do as much as we can to make it easy to take the class and with a hierarchy of needs, so that people can, focus on what we're talking about in the classes and kind of get out of survival mode and get out of, constant stress and adrenaline, at least for a time. And then we provide ongoing support after the class is over with to try and help people. So
what is part of that ongoing support?
It's case management, where we check in with people every week, every 2 weeks. And we, if you think about it, kind of like a relay race, we reach out to people with a grocery assistance program, and then the baton is kind of passed to our other essential services. And then we try to get them into the class. And that's where the case managers work with them in an ongoing way. And then we have a workforce specialist who then tries to help them plug into certain types of industry where we're trying to build pipelines for jobs that can become careers, where the training is free and we're working with the industrial sector on that. We're in the beginning stages of working with the health district. We're working with other people who are in our space, other nonprofits who do similar things to what we do with a new coalition. We work with returning citizens. And then we also want to get into and work more with the hospitality industry. So we can't be all things to all people, but hopefully we're doing enough that someone can find a fit somewhere, and maybe that's not where they end, but maybe that'll get them on their way, so to speak, and jobs that, again, pay a living wage, and that within a year or two can, have the opportunity for advancement and better wages and things like that.
So, and I think that's kind of the ultimate solution there is getting people employed in a meaningful way.
Yes. We used to take more of a shotgun approach and just try to get people jobs. And then we just discovered this is really, not working. And so the idea, is sustainable wages. Where people can build their lives and escape as best they can a very desperate way of living.
So in the sustainability model with having the Purple Cow as the thrift store and kind of helping get funds back, how have y'all seen the success there over the years? You got 3 locations now, looking to continue expanding.
Yeah, well, it's what pays for the overhead. So when people give to Christian Outreach, then their money is going directly to supporting the clients. So they're not in their contributing to us. They're not, their money's not being used to keep the lights on, to pay my salary, things like that. It goes straight into all of the programs that I've just laid out. So it's been a great model for us. And it's an advantageous position because a lot of nonprofits don't have thrift stores. They have to go out and fundraise everything that they have. Now, it's not to say that we don't fundraise, because one of the things that I do, in addition to overseeing everything, is I write for grants, and I do some individual fundraising with churches and that sort of thing. But I think it takes, with the nonprofit world, as they say, a diversified portfolio. So we have to have multiple streams coming in, because you never know when something's going to come along to rock one area or the other. So hopefully if one area gets rocked, then the other areas can compensate. So like in the beginning, just within the category of the stores, 2 stores are better than 1 and 3 are better than 2, because if one goes through a tough time, then the other 2 can try to carry it and compensate for it. And then if you have the store shut down, then you might need to rely upon, other income, to kind of until circumstances change, like with a hurricane, and maybe you have to shut down the store. We had 2 weeks in January where the stores were closed for a couple of days, back to back, 2 weeks in a row. And so you have to have reserves, for when something like that happens. And then if a hurricane rolls around and it's not just when do you get your power back on, but when do all of your customers start getting out and doing stuff? So you could be knocked out for a week, or maybe even a week and a half or 2 weeks. So you just have to be adaptable, flexible, and again, have multiple income streams. So anyway, it's worked out so far.
Yeah. And it's building in that sustainability. You're not just relying on one source. A lot of nonprofits are doing fundraisers. They're trying to get big donors to help support everything, but you're kind of creating, or have created and successfully adapted, this model of just, we're going to self-fund via the thrift stores in a large way. I'm sure you get donations outside.
That, and then we have key community partners, some fabulous community foundations such as the Huey and Angelina Wilson Foundation. They've been an incredible partner over the years. We're in the middle of a 3-year grant from them, and we've partnered with them, since the mid 20 teens. So that's been a fantastic relationship. And then the Lamar Foundation has also funded us. The Baton Rouge Area Foundation, we've gotten some funding from them, and it just, we believe in working in the context of a community of funders and other providers. And so we are not siloed. We love working with partners. But yeah, if we didn't have the stores, it would be a completely different model.
Yeah. Well, and you're able to keep everything so local. I mean, just the people that you even just mentioned, like those are still local organizations. They've grown out, but they kind of were rooted here.
Yeah.
And I love that element of what y'all bring within the Purple Cow and everything.
Well, thank you. And it's really a dream come true for me, because being born and reared in Baton Rouge, I love Baton Rouge, warts and all. I mean, I grew up in Villa Del Rey. I went to Villa Del Rey Elementary. I went to Glasgow Middle School. If I wouldn't have moved, then I would have probably have gone to Baton Rouge High. But then I moved back and I went to Episcopal High, graduated from LSU, and met my wife here. Raised my kids here. So I just bleed Baton Rouge. And so the honor and the privilege of serving the city is just, it's so important to me. And just the fact that it is so local, is just, that's one of the things I love about it the most.
Yeah. And you're building a sustainable business that's seeking to make a change and is making a change. You're not just out there trying to do something to better yourself. It is something you've gone through and experienced.
Yeah, it's lived experience, and the great thing about lived experience is that is extended into the rest of our staff at the outreach center. So we have an 8-person team, and everybody on the team has experienced something that is like what our clients have gone through and are going through. So we have people who are formerly incarcerated, people who have lived in poverty, people who've been homeless. And so between all of us, we cover the bases of the people that we try to help. So,
and how have y'all seen that relate to the clients?
Well, that's huge. There's just a connection. It's one thing, like if we just had sort of a licensed social worker who was all just book knowledge, that it would just it would not have that connection. It would not have that gravitas or that weight. So without even telling people that we have this in our background, we just have that thing about us to where when we speak, they listen. And so when we do our classes in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison, it's not till the middle or maybe even the very end that the facilitator says, by the way, I served a couple of decades in Angola. He doesn't even need to say that, because the way that he conducts himself and the way he's able to communicate makes that connection. And then, when people find out, then they're blown away and they're like, well, and the message we want to send everybody is if change can happen for us, it can happen for you, and it can happen far more quickly than you realize. But it's important that we have that lived experience. I think that makes all the difference. There's just, if none of us have that lived experience, we would just be a bunch of God complex do-gooders. We're going to come and save you all.
Right. Well, and it's when you're sitting there talking with somebody and you're trying to help them through a rough time. Yeah. They often want to throw that, well, you just don't get it. Right. You just never been there. You've never been able to put yourself in my shoes, maybe theoretically, but not physically and actually. Right. But then y'all are able to sit there and say, well, no, we have.
Yeah.
We have.
Yeah. It's not, well, you just got to do this, and this, easy for you to say.
Yeah. You're here teaching me, everything.
Or the armchair social worker, well, everybody's just on drugs and lazy. They just need to get off the drugs and get a job. And thanks.
This episode is proudly presented by Gage. Gage is a local company here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. For over 40 years, Gage has provided businesses with the very best telecommunications, IT, and standby power services available. Gage has a variety of services, including Gage Cloud Voice. It is the last phone system your business will ever need. You need to give your business the ability to be accessible anytime, anywhere, and with Gage's cloud-based phone system, you'll be able to accomplish just that. Not only do they have Gage Cloud Voice, they have fully managed IT services that are proactive network monitoring, 24/7, 365, help desk, business continuity, continuity, they are there for you. What you're also going to need is some cybersecurity. Gage is there to safeguard your business from potential cyber threats, even when you aren't aware they exist. Gage also is power and leaders in standby generators. They are the #1 Cummins dealer on the Gulf Coast and provide generators to homes and businesses of any size so you can keep life going. Gage, better connected, a proud sponsor of the Patty G Show.
And there are many paths to homelessness and to being at risk of homelessness that a lot of people don't even realize. It's very common with people who've served in the armed forces, domestic violence, mental health and trauma. It goes on, and people just don't realize how fragile life really is, and how, your circumstances can just change so quickly. I've seen it time and time again, someone who's just living a normal life, coasting right along, and things can change like that. I've seen it. I've lived it. Thankfully, most people don't. Thankfully, a lot of people don't have to experience that fragility. But sooner or later, if you live long enough, or if you go through enough stuff, you do realize how fragile life really is, and just it kind of freaks people out when they come to that realization.
Yeah, well, having over half the population of VBR, be one event away from that.
Yeah. So, we want to try to help as many people as we can, but it's just a huge, when you think about that statistic, the need is huge. So if anybody wants to start a nonprofit and jump in and join in on the work, it's by no means territorial. We need more service providers. We need more people doing the work. Because if you think about, 55% of the population there. And then with prison reentry, you've got 1,300 returning citizens annually coming back into East Baton Rouge Parish. We're kind of a tier 1 city for homelessness. People who are dealing with homelessness across the state have a tendency to gravitate toward places like Baton Rouge and New Orleans. So the faces change every couple of months. You'll see different people, around the downtown area.
So on that remark about having more people come into the nonprofit space, is it better to have more nonprofit organizations, or is it better for people to join in the existing ones and help them expand?
I think it's good. I think a couple of things that it's usually when someone says, I want to start a nonprofit, the first thing I think, that you need to consider is who's already in this space doing things. Right. And it's good to start working with them and joining in what's already happening. However, there could be some nuances or some gaps in service that's where that's probably the wisest way to then branch off and do your own thing. For example, there's just not enough affordable housing. And so the gap between shelters and group homes and apartments, there's a whole lot of middle ground. And if someone could provide affordable housing for people in transition, there's a huge need right there. Another huge need is transportation. If someone wants to start something that is very transportation based for nonprofit clients, that's a huge gap. There's always more help needed in the mental health space. So there's plenty of gaps to be filled. So joining with the people who are currently doing the work and then branching off and filling the gaps, I think would be very helpful.
Okay. So, because I'm always curious on if more organizations or just making the existing ones bigger helps. Like, what's the best way to help?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think if you get too big, my opinion is that you can become too bureaucratic and lose your maneuverability, your adaptability. Mm-hmm. Bureaucracy tends to bring its own kind of problems. You might have size and resources, but you can't turn on a dime if you have to. Usually it's more encumbered with processes and procedures and a lack of urgency and that sort of stuff. So, I like being the size that we are and maybe being a little bit bigger. perhaps, because we still are very adaptable. We aren't encumbered by our own red tape, so to speak. We can take action and change things if we need to. We're just, if people are curious, and all of this is public record, and we're supposed to be transparent about all of this. We're a $2.6 million organization, and that may sound like a lot, but it's not. It's sort of an awkward medium size of a nonprofit. It's not small, but it's not big either. We have the appearance of big because of the stores, but by a lot of people's definitions, a large nonprofit would be a budget of, say, $5 million and perhaps 100 employees. We have 47 employees, so we're in a comfortable spot where it could be easy to kind of rest on certain things, but we always want to keep pushing and moving forward and keep perfecting what we do. And we're becoming more and more established, while at the same time trying to not lose that entrepreneurial, spirit.
So how do you think you get to that 5 from where you're at?
Well, it costs a lot to run a store. Rent is usually a lot. Utilities, payroll is a lot for 47 employees. But I think we could, each store has, the outreach center has a team of 8. We could probably have another, if we wanted to double our services, I think we're looking at maybe another 3 to 5 employees there. Each store has a crew of about 13 people. So if we start 2 new stores, that's 26 right there. And then if you added another 5 from the outreach center, that's 31. So that gets us closer to 100. So maybe another expansion of staff at the CSC beyond that. And the 6th store would certainly put us over 100 employees.
Okay.
So
have you been able to talk with a landlord or a property owner to kind of find a deal like y'all have with DoorDash?
We get some consideration on certain things with landlords, but you'd be surprised how much rent can be for the spaces that we're in. Because again, our thrift stores are not in like kind of the inner city. They're sort of in, one's near Shenandoah, Jones Creek, Tiger Bend, and that one's been there for 20 years. And then the other one is in a pretty prime spot, Perkins and South Acadian. And the other one's in a fairly prime spot on South Range, just north of I-12. So rent, depending on the location, runs anywhere from, this will shock you, it'll run anywhere from $13-something thousand up to about $16,500 each month. Payroll is about $57,000 every 2 weeks. Then you got utilities, and for one 15,000 square foot store, that can be anywhere from $1,500 on a mild month to $2,500 up to $3,000, in the heat of summer. And then you've got insurance and supplies and cleaning and all kinds of other stuff. So there's a lot that goes into it. And so when people say, well, you get all of this stuff for free, why don't you just give it away? Well, that's part of the answer. I'll make you a deal. I'll give all this stuff to you for free if you pay our rent for a month. But it just costs to do anything that is anything that is organized, and an organization has overhead. But again, that's why we have the stores, so that we can cover the overhead costs, so that when people give directly to us, then it goes straight to programs, straight to where the rubber meets the road.
Imagine taxiing on a plane looking toward the end of the runway. It seems so far away, it's even hard to see it. And that's what the concept of retirement probably felt like when you were in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, way far in the distance, not visible or even a concern. But as you turn 50, something happens. Retirement suddenly seems like something real, something not too far away. In your 50s, you are rolling down the runway. Retirement is getting closer and closer, faster and faster, weeks and months zipping by. But are you even ready for a successful takeoff to retirement? Fear not, there's still runway left, but the time is now. Time to make progress and time to get a plan. The Runway Decade will help you get organized, get energized, and give you the direction you need to take off to your desired retirement. The Runway Decade, building a pre-retirement flight plan in your 50s.
And the things that are being donated aren't necessarily going to help somebody in a poverty situation. You know,
Well,
like
just,
you're not everything is gonna help.
right. And we're an organization of the proverbial hand up versus hand out. So the stores don't exist. I mean, yes, we give people clothing, but we just giving stuff is not what changes lives. Transformation has to happen. And that's why we emphasize our, services that help toward a permanent solution, and the classes that we have that lead to lasting change. Because we could just roll up downtown and give out, and nothing against the people who do this. There's plenty of great organizations that do this, and it definitely serves a need in the moment. But there can be no end to handing out stuff. But and there certainly is a need for basic needs to be met. But for us, it's got to lead to something that's transformative.
Right. It goes back to that saying, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach him to fish, feed him for a lifetime.
Yeah, and that's why we emphasize the employment and the financial education, because it, as they say, it flips the list. It instead of all of the resources going toward the other needs, if we can help someone to earn more, well, then they'll be able to pay for all of those handouts themselves.
Exactly.
Over time.
And being a place that they can come and shop and get some specific needs that they want is a way to give them something affordable and not have to force them to go to other places to then keep finding themselves in a financial strain. Because that being one of the biggest things is financial literacy, financial education, and just not understanding the flow of cash and how that stuff works can get anybody upside down. Doesn't matter if you make $100 or you make $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah, and helping people to to create a budget, to start tracking their expenses, just changing thinking from survival mode to planning mode, and we try to cover a lot of ground in just a very small amount of time with our financial education.
It's incredibly important for every level that anybody's at.
Oh yeah.
I mean, my wife and I have like a weekly money meeting.
Yeah.
And we have a monthly review of how the past month went versus what was budgeted. And that doesn't matter if you're making nothing or you're making a lot. Like, you have to have those conversations and be aware. Yeah. The worst thing you can say is, we'll figure it out. It'll all turn out. Like, no, not really.
Right.
It may not, So it's definitely having an education of, okay, this is what I've been spending. This is where I can cut. Where can we then start turning and have some improvement?
Yeah, exactly. So it goes hand in hand. The job readiness first, so that they have the job where they make the money, and then the financial education. Now, how do we make the most out of what we're making, and how do we make wise decisions and that sort of thing? So we think that's kind of the ideal 1-2 punch, is both of those types of classes.
So how are organizations able to help directly with y'all's programs?
Well, there are a number of ways that people can get involved. One is they can donate in-kind goods to our stores. The other is that they can financially contribute to the Christian Outreach Center via our website. Another way that they can help is by volunteering. And so every Wednesday, people can come and volunteer to put together our grocery bags. Or if they want to get involved with our job readiness training or our financial education, they can become mentors. They can eventually become facilitators. If they're employers, they could become a pipeline for receiving our students, or they could come in and talk to our class, maybe as kind of a one-off. So there are quite a few different ways that people can get involved from the Purple Cow side of the Christian Outreach side. So
what are some kind of upcoming changes or upcoming programs you'll have?
Our next job readiness class starts in about 2 weeks. About 2.5 weeks. So we have a meet and greet coming up at the Charles R. Kelly Center. And that's where we've invited a number of people who have our who receive the grocery weekly grocery distribution. We invite them to that meeting. We'll then select people for the number of open slots that we have, and then that's going to meet for 6 weeks until the middle of June. And then, depending on funding, we'll have a third quarter, fourth quarter class, and quarterly classes.
So Zach's pointing to a pamphlet over there. What are these pamphlets he's pointing to?
The what? Oh, yes. If churches, churches and businesses can get involved by steering their church members, creating a campaign, if you will, of their church members giving to the Christian Outreach Center and to the Purple Cow. Businesses can do the same thing. And so we'd be happy to speak to organizations about how they can implement that.
Okay. So what has been, I'm curious now as we have some incredible trinkets in front of us, what has been some of the coolest things brought into the Purple Cow by people?
Oh boy. Sometimes I'm in such a business mode that I don't notice how cool our stuff is when I'm breezing through, but we've had all kinds of stuff. I've numbered Beatles White Album. We've had Jimmy Choo shoes. We've had fur coats. We've had a pair of leather pants that cost $1,000 new. We get cool stuff like what's on the table here. We'll get stuff that maybe you'll look at it and go, my mom used to have this, or I grew up with this, or my grandmother had this. When I first started, I would take pictures of our stuff and send it to my mom and say, remember when we had this when I was a kid? And it was just amazing, like something that was in front of a fireplace, a set of dishes, like what household did not have this set of dishes growing up in the 70s or 80s? And so there's all kinds of stuff from the inexpensive to we get some very nice items that are donated to us as well. So you'll find a variety. We get even antiques sometimes, and we price everything according to value. So we definitely get unique stuff that you won't find anywhere, and it's both one of the fun things and one of the curses of having a thrift store is we've got one of everything. So we can't really like other stores and other businesses plan things out in the exact same way. We have to our floor has to adjust based on what blows our way through the kind donors that bring stuff to our organization. So
and just the business of thrifting has kind of even changed over the years, because now people are going and finding things to purchase at a thrift store to then go and resell on eBay.
Thrift flipping, yes.
And they're trying to flip these products because, to your point, it is one of a kind. It's that you're not going to have, 4 of these things come in. You're only going to have one bedazzled purple tambourine sit in the store.
That's right.
You're not going to get 100 of them at once.
And we don't begrudge thrift flippers at all. There are certain things that we're just going to only charge so much, and so someone will come in and see the value in it. And we have that happen all the time. We have, I've even with my own personal possessions, I've flipped books, and you can do it with books, you can do it with clothing, you can do it with all kinds of stuff. You can find vinyl, old video games. It's really a cool thing. And the difference though is that by sometimes it comes down to time versus money, and so some people that they'll want to hang on to stuff and try and sell their own stuff for for as much as they can get to supplement their income, but that takes an incredible amount of time. And the thing about donating that instead of that little bit of side hustle is that you're making an impact, you're making a difference, and you're helping so many people. A consignment shop, and that's where sometimes people will mix up what a thrift store is versus a consignment store. Consignment stores are for profit, and the money that's made there, it goes toward the owners. With a thrift store, it is nonprofit and it goes toward a cause. It goes directly back into the community, and so we really are asking people to look at the treasures that they've been blessed with, and to think about how by giving this, they can impact their community, they can change lives. And to me, that's a huge reward. That's a huge, way that our lives can bless other people's lives. Because again, the stuff that's being brought to the stores, I am not getting rich off of it. I live a very middle-class lifestyle, so it's not, you're not giving it to the fat cat thrift store who's just, it's all everything is being turned around to make a community impact.
Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out. Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you.
Right. So. And even for the people that are thrift flipping, you have to price it the way you do because you still have to achieve that mission of being affordable for anybody to come in and purchase things.
Yeah. We want it affordable. We're not going to give it away, but we want it affordable. So we're not, by no means we're one of the lowest priced thrift stores that are out there. And we're usually are the very last people to have to increase our prices, because of inflation. And we try to keep things as low as possible because we are very keenly aware of people's pain points. We all are living it. We're each of us are, we're all in the same boat. We're not all independently wealthy doing this thrift store, so
as a side hustle,
right. Just because we have nothing better to do.
Right. So, and it goes back to when somebody's making a decision behind who they're going to donate their treasures to. Purple Cow is one of the only local or establishments here.
Yes, there are some mom and pops that are out there, but yeah, we're not a big out of state chain. We're a local chain, and we just we deeply love and care for the community and the pro support programs that are local, effective. We try to do everything with the highest integrity, and I just can't say enough good things about it.
And for me, it goes to the root cause solution that y'all have. Y'all aren't just out there giving stuff into the community. It's giving to help further better their lives. It's not just come here, get your groceries and go home. It's come here, get this, but now let's help you get out of this.
Exactly.
And it's more intentional rather than just helping in the moment.
Transformational versus transactional. Right. And we aren't doing this for good optics, for good visual. We in many ways fly under the radar. We don't try to do anything we do to, as much as you have to promote yourself, so to speak, to get the message out there. We don't do things in a showy, splashy way. It's very humble, very subtle. But we do like to thank our donors and show them visible evidence of, here's what's going on. So.
Yeah, here's what's going on. Here are people in our classes, and here are the people that are graduating and now have improved lives because of it. That to me is the hugest statistic. It's not how many people you're serving, how many people have stopped coming back because they've had a change.
Exactly. It's, if you want to just do a flashy program and say, it's not about how many people we get through our program. It's not about how much of this and how much of that we do. It's about the quality of it. And, there's another nonprofit saying that nail it before you scale it, that, make sure that the quality is there. You can always do more of something, but, our purpose is not to get a gazillion people through our classes because we could jam people through those classes and we could have zero transformed lives. But, if we can transform the lives of a few dozen people each year, well, to me, that's something. It's one life at a time.
Exactly. The power of one is that person no longer requires the previous steps of the program.
Yeah.
And they're able to really go out there, and you have people involved in the organization that have lived that life that are now giving back and being involved. Mm-hmm. And in turn, I hope that some people do the same. And so you're creating a cycle of getting people out of a bad situation, having them better the community around them.
Yeah. And if you want it by the numbers, we do 4 prison-based classes a year. And each of those has anywhere from 9 to 11 people in those classes. So you've got that. And then you've got for the people who are experiencing poverty at risk of homelessness, we do 4 of those classes a year. In each of those classes, they start with 40 and they graduate. 40 people sign up, 30 people show up for the first night, and then about 24, 5, 6 graduate. So you got about 100 there. And then you've got the people who just come to get our various services, our grocery assistance program, that's 135 households a week. Our other, we average about 35 visits to the outreach center per day. So, and then you've got with customers at the Purple Cow stores, you have a couple hundred donors per store per week. And then you've got, a couple hundred shoppers each day. So you can just kind of add all that up, and, there's quite a bit of impact when you think about it just from a numbers perspective, but we're always about quality first.
Yeah. It's a meaningful impact. It's really making a difference, which is great.
Yeah.
So as we kind of start to wrap up the show, we have a few questions we ask every guest.
Okay.
So you have gone through quite a lot of life experiences and had a lot of ups and downs and brought you to the point in time of where you're at. From all of that, what 3 lessons can you think of that you've kind of learned along the way?
3 lessons. Let's see. Well, definitely the power of prayer. So I, pray a lot. I pray often. I pray throughout the day. So that vital connectedness through prayer and through the word. Through another lesson is just, as I seek to be conformed to the image of Christ, that takes me on a journey that's way better than I could have come up with, on my own. If I were try to design my own life according to some perfect plan. So it takes me on unexpected paths, and it surprises me. And then I guess maybe the 3rd lesson would be that a life well lived is about serving others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
As a kid that I wish I could do today? I guess have a respite from all the responsibility. Where life was just about playing and having fun and going with my friends. I mean, maybe for a little while.
I was with my son today, and he was barefoot the whole day and not a care in the world. And I'm like, to have that just bliss of, picking up a stick, and that's now your next hour.
Yeah.
What is something you love about Baton Rouge?
Oh boy, the people. I love the people. I love the music. I love the food. I love the architecture. I love the music. I love the LSU football. All of it. I mean, I love the cycle, the rhythm of life that we all go through together each year, Mardi Gras into Lent, into Easter, into the festivals, into summer, into LSU football. And, just, I love the rhythm of life here, and it's just, great. And I love the people.
Yeah. We have quite a rhythm that's always the same.
Yeah.
I think we're actually due for another freeze soon. The final freeze of the year.
Yeah, that's right.
So for the final question, what can I do to help you?
I guess keep through your show. Hopefully, we'll have people who are interested in getting involved with the organization through giving to the stores, giving to the outreach center, volunteering. Just in any way, if something that was said will grab someone and have them want to get involved, then that would be a win for me.
What's the easiest way for people to get involved?
You can go to the Purple Cow website, the Purple Cow, is it the purplecowbr.net? purplecowbr.net. And there are ways to donate on the website. You can go to the donate page and click on how to donate to the stores, or how to have a large donation or furniture picked up, or how to make a monetary donation. You can go through the Christian Outreach Center and get in touch with us there and learn how to volunteer. And then follow us on social media. We usually communicate what we do, what we're about to do through Facebook and Instagram. All right.
So what's the easiest way for people to get in touch with you?
The easiest way would be to go to our websites and to go to our platforms on social media with Facebook and Instagram. So you can go to the Purple Cow at thepurplecow.net. And then on the donations page, it will tell you how to make a donation on site, how to schedule a large or furniture bulk donation, how to make a monetary donation. And you can go to ChristianOutreachCenterBR.com. And that will tell you more. It will reiterate what we've talked about with our organization. And you can reach out to us, and we would love to plug you in and get you involved if you're looking to volunteer. We'd love to have you come.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing everything that you do each and every day.
Oh, it's my honor.
Y'all have, we've donated to Purple Cow, but now it's locked in forever and for always.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And
Appreciate it.
Your story is just going to resonate with so many different people.
Oh, thank you so much.
And thank you all for consuming and watching the Patty G Show, whichever way you do. Y'all, if you're in the area and you live around Baton Rouge or the local community, remember when you're giving or you're donating, whatever it may be, to find an organization that's local. If you're around the Purple Cow, go there, obviously. Their local outreach is not only bettering those around us, but it's bettering the community as a whole and really doing that impactful change that we discussed for the last hour or so. So, y'all, we have an ability to do something like that with just one little item and one little thing. Do what you can as a community, and we're all going to bring each other up. So thank y'all. We'll see y'all in the next one. Hey, everybody. The Purple Cow, which is this week's guest, is doing an event July 27th at the Charles R. Kelly Community Center in North Baton Rouge. They're giving away backpack school supplies with the United Way. If you would like to donate or become a corporate sponsor, we're going to have more information linked in the show notes below. Or if you'd like to go check out their website, it is going to be ChristianOutreachBR.com. Once again, ChristianOutreachBR.com. Be sure and reach out to Purple Cow for their upcoming event, July 27th at the Charles R. Kelly Community Center in North Baton Rouge.